I think what I want all of you guys to have a chance to mix and mingle. So I want to ask one more good question. We're going to talk for a couple minutes about things we can follow up on, and then we're going to go outside and eat more food. Sound good? All right. So last question. How do you intend to address cultural differences, such as the fact that many Latino families don't see the need for higher ed or feel like it's too much of a burden to go straight to school, as opposed to other alternatives like being pushed and encouraged to go straight to work?
Right, right. I think it really starts in looking at cultural sensitivity in our lower ed and K to 12, and starting out young and parent involvement and parent engagement programs. And to me, one important thing is there's so many schools that have a high Latino ELL student body, and no one in the front office speaks Spanish.
Yeah.
So then when you talk about we want to have parent engagement and the parent comes to school and they can't find anyone to talk to, how welcoming is that? And so really to me it begins, the number one indicator on a student's success in school is the educational attainment of their parents. And so when you have parents who did not get a higher ed degree or didn't even graduate from high school, you're sort of swimming upstream and showing the importance of getting a good education. And I think there's a couple things. I think first of all is starting with parent teaching and parent cultural sensitivity and training our educators and making a concerted effort to make sure we have dual language people in schools that can really communicate with families. That's a good start, right? And then I also feel like it's got to come with the students, right? And we have to show and have people like Irene in positions of power who can show this is what happens when you get a good education, and this is what you can become. And so it's really setting that example. And then the final thing is, we got to focus on pay. When you get through school and if you're a Latino and you're getting paid less than your white counterparts, what's that telling you? That we don't value education for Latinos as much as we do for white people. So I think that that's another issue we need to deal with also.
Thank you, Suzie.
Hi everybody, this is Cyrus Hojadi. I'm here to make a video about so-called identity politics and the event that just took place here at UNLV. Now, UNLV has, like many colleges and campuses, institutions, have been really preaching to a lot of students messages that have been very controversial and in a way kind of favor certain people over another. And as you can see here, Latinos Unidos had an event about identity politics, and they had it here with Suzie Lee, who's running for Congress. I believe it's District 3, and that includes my campus, believe it or not. And so one of the things you'll notice is that, first of all, what is up with this identity politics? Because when you keep promoting races, when you keep promoting all these things like Latino, Black, all these things, I mean, these things are really dividing our society, believe it or not. These are the things that really separate us one way or another. And so this is why I try to avoid organizations like this. This is one of the reasons why, we should stay away from groups like KKK and all this kind of stuff that are based on a particular race. See, I like to view individuals as human beings. You're a human being, you're a citizen, you mean well, and that's all that matters. That's what matters to me, as long as you're not a harm to an individual like myself, you see. But I think what the purpose behind all of this is that this is really, in my opinion, kind of a tool to promote a certain cause or promote a certain politician. And the really shocking thing is, when they do this a lot, believe it or not, I believe they're not really lifting the people that they're trying to bring up. In fact, in many cases, I believe that they're trying to suppress the very same people, these identity-based groups. think they should just go away. Okay, now I understand that you can celebrate certain cultures. I'm proud of being an Iranian. I love my Persian culture, my Persian lifestyle, and everything. But at the same time, it's like, I don't go out in the street and say, fight for the Iranian Persian vote, oh my gosh, all those kinds of things. And, it kind of really sounds like when they do all this, they are promoting an agenda. They are promoting a certain cause. There are special interest groups that are doing this purposely, maybe because they want to pass certain laws or get certain goals and accomplish done. For an example, like when Harry Reid says, 40% of the students in the Clark County Unified School District are Latino, we got to support them. First of all, why is he playing the race card? And why is he somehow celebrating that there's a growth and there's a change in demographics? Maybe I should be very suspicious considering all the controversial things that he has done over the last several years. Maybe this makes me think that I have the right to somehow question these things and really figure out what is exactly going on. So there again, what you have to really understand is that when they build these groups, believe it or not, creates more anxiety, creates more division, and it allows, and I guess from this meeting, you probably, I'm not sure if you do, believe that maybe it's white people that are suppressing you, and maybe by building all these groups, maybe this makes perhaps white people and others more and more anxious and more disgusted by other races. So this is creating more and more division. Now the real question is, think about the double standards. Why can't white people have their own groups like this? The Whites United, the European American Students Foundation. Why is that? You see the double standard about this? So either there should be a white group, or either there really shouldn't be a race-based group. That's real equality, in my opinion. And you don't see Persians doing this. And again, you see a similar approach happening in Europe. Europe has always been home to Europeans, white people, and I'm sure if you go to London and Berlin, you'll see lots of people have groups based on Muslims and people from certain parts of the world, and you see the agenda. It sounds like this is a great replacement of Western civilization that they are trying to do. This is what it seems like. Okay, and by the way, I think that people should choose between they want to live in a diverse or a homogenous society. But diversity has issues. Diversity may not be as great as it always that we are actually led to believe. So you really got to connect the dots to see what the whole greater agenda is going on. Now, I want to show you the flyer, okay? And you can see here, on-page overview, 5 founding principles, democratizing knowledge, social justice, respect, okay, and 5 priorities you can see here. So I don't know what this really means, but it sounds good. Highlight the leaders for making a difference in our community and build a relationship. Year-round engagement, community people building of color. Well, why are some so-called color folks like Indian Americans, Chinese Americans, Iranian Americans don't go through this? Do you focus on them, or do you focus on just the people who are suppressed? Now, of course, this is from just Jessica Padron. And Jessica Padron, I don't mean to let her down. I have a lot of respect for her. But then again, of course, I don't agree with what she's doing. And I thanked her for having this meeting that I attended. So this is Suzie Lee for Congress, Local Solutions, Real Results. Suzie Lee, she's running on a platform on basically, going after the lenders of universities, and of course she believes in DACA that should be preserved. Now, of course, she did say she wants to secure the border, but nevertheless, the question is, what does that really mean? Really secure, or just somewhat secure, just a little bit of a fence? So that's one of the things that we have to really, really keep in mind. Now, the issue with Suzie Lee, in my opinion, is, does she believe we should continue the military-industrial complex? How is she going to address finance and banking, Wall Street, the corruption, the greed, the Federal Reserve? How is she going to address income inequality? does she believe, in true equal rights? Does she believe in campaign finance limits? Now, these, of course, are many of the ideas that the left praises, and I think some of them are pretty reasonable, but she hasn't really talked about that. So it kind of seems like she's really part of that establishment. And that's why I think, as a matter of fact, another candidate who ran for the primary, Mr. Weiss, who ran in that district, wasn't able to win, because I think he didn't get enough campaign contributions. The same thing with Ruben de Silva, who was actually there, believe it or not. So, again, you have to really understand, they talk about diversity and everything, but then again, diversity, if you go to Brazil, has led to conflicts. And then if you look at the Las Vegas Valley, I mean, sure, there isn't a lot of riots, but then again, you also have to keep in mind that not every zip code, not every neighborhood in the Las Vegas Valley is really, really homogenous. This is one of the things that you really have to keep in mind. And so, this is just the bottom line. I haven't heard from her about, just like Dina Titus, how this massive immigration, even legal immigration, because we've had problems with it too, on how it's going to benefit the typical American citizen like myself. Okay? And again, I'm concerned about whether this country is going to remain a first world society. Not mainly about, okay, yeah, demographics are going to change, but if they change and the standard of living goes up, then I don't see much of a problem with that. Okay, because you gotta have to keep in mind that if you look at the San Diego metropolitan area, the demographics are very similar to the Las Vegas metropolitan area, but the thing, of course, is that the effects are different. So a lot of the Latinos, for example, in San Diego are more likely to speak English and are less likely to be in poverty. And the same thing with Asians. They're more likely to take better paying jobs rather than low wage jobs that you can find, especially at the casinos. So we want to see more examples, although it's not perfect, like San Diego. So the massive immigration in San Diego certainly has had different effects than Las Vegas. And again, Suzie Lee said something like 60% of the students in Clark County Unified School District are in poverty. Well, where are all those families coming from? They're from third world countries. Why do we have to import people massively from third world countries who don't offer us much benefit? I mean, yeah, maybe there is some labor shortages, but not all of it is labor shortages. It really is, in my opinion, for certain companies to provide cheaper labor. And certain special interests get a goal or a cause that they want that may not necessarily benefit the American people. And so that's what it all brings. I mean, look at the employment out here in Clark County. It seems like majority of drivers are foreign-born. Majority of gaming dealers are foreign-born. Majority of front desk cashiers are foreign-born. Majority of servers in casinos are foreign-born. How is this benefiting me? Are Americans too lazy not to do those jobs? See, the Las Vegas metropolitan area is an example where immigration really, really has issues. And so this is where you really, really have to keep in mind and truly be aware of what is going on. And then she says, well, our schools are overcrowded. Well, who are the ones really overcrowding the schools? It's the children of this massive immigration wave that we've been getting for the last 2-3 decades. So this is why it's very, very important. Now, of course, legally they have to go to school because of the 1982 Supreme Court case, which we'll have to see. It'll probably be overturned pretty soon. But because of that, then again, and this even is from parents who are here legally, it still impacts their schools. It's still overcrowded. It brings their test scores down. And sadly, why do we have to spend extra taxpayer dollars to help the kids learn English? This is not right. It's not fair to me, my parents, and myself. I didn't take extra courses to learn English. I grew up bilingual. I know Spanish as well, along with Farsi. So this is just very, very unfair. A lot of our taxpayer dollars being used for all this. So if we had a better immigration policy for the last 2-3 decades, which hopefully we will in the future, then we really wouldn't have all these problems with overcrowding. And then, of course, a lot of these immigrants, legal or not, many of them take their earnings and send it abroad through Western Union and MoneyGram, and a lot of those dollars don't really flood into the U.S. economy. And so this just tells you a lot of the problems that immigrants bring. So the money goes out, wages get devalued, certain taxpayer services are not well allocated efficiently enough. And then, of course, you get overcrowding, you get sprawl. So a neighborhood, for an example, parts of Las Vegas change and people move out. And this spreads out, harms the environment, new neighborhoods that you'll find in Henderson, Summerlin, Centennial, and so forth. And believe it or not, I think the best way to solve this is not mainly through ICE. I don't think that that's going to really get to the heart of the problem. I think the best way to solve this problem is to have a merit-based system, is to limit the arrivals to something like a few 100,000 a year, and the chain migration, and the birthright citizenship, and implement E-Verify. I think that is very, very important. Make English the national language, put the citizens first. And so this is one of the things that you really, really have to keep in mind. And by the way, I just wanted to take this one last part and discuss, well, the question is, why aren't Iranian Americans like myself having groups like this? And why are they earning more than Latino Americans or many others? And why do they have higher credential levels? Is there discrimination going on? I doubt it. I don't think Iranians really do face any discrimination. I just believe that perhaps some of it could be structural. Maybe you can argue that the way that black families are being grown without a father, that has to do with it, the welfare system and a lot of those other different things, the outsourcing of jobs. But I guess you can just say maybe we're just different. If we're looking at civilizations from all over the world, some people from certain parts of the world were good at some things and some people were not. And Persians were good in some things and they were not. And they were better in a lot of things in sub-Saharan African civilization. And they still are when you look at those people and comparing them in the United States. So it's one of the things that you really, really have to keep in mind. So I guess that may explain why we have differences in achievement. And maybe we have to really talk about these harsh truths. And I know what I just explained to a lot of people may not sound pretty, but the truth hurts. And we have to know, sooner the better. All right, so everybody, thank you so much. I am actually here at UNLV cafeteria. Take care.